and is roughly 109 times the diameter of Earth. About 1 million Earths could fit inside the Sun. The visible part of the Sun is about 10,000 degrees Fahrenheit. That's 5,500 degrees Celsius. While the temperatures in the core reach more than 20 million Fahrenheit, 15 million Celsius, driven by nuclear reactions. One would need to explode 100 billion tons of dynamite every second to match the energy produced by the Sun, according to NASA. The Sun is one of more than 100 billion stars in the Milky Way. It orbits some 25,000 light years from the galactic core, completing a revolution once every 250 million years or so. The Sun is relatively young, part of a generation of stars, known as the Population 1, which are relatively rich in elements heavier than helium. The older generation stars are called Population 2, and the early generation of Population 3 may have existed, although no members of this generation are known yet. Brown dwarf stars are in our solar system. There's billions of them, and basically they are orbiting in ecliptic orbits. There are rogue planets everywhere, and these planets, like Nibiru and Nemesis, the brown dwarf, the one that's on the way towards Earth, are huge celestial bodies. They have moons, and they have been round towards our heavenly body, our Earth, before, and also basically we are in for a serious pole shift. Also, back to what we say about our Sun, it was born about 4.6 billion years ago. Many scientists think the Sun and the rest of the solar system formed from a giant rotation cloud of gas and dust known as a solar nebula. As the nebula collapsed, because of its gravity, it spun faster and flattened into a disk. Most of the material was pulled towards the center from our Sun. The Sun had enough nuclear fuel to stay much as it is now for another 5 billion years. After that, it will swell and become a red giant, just like the brown dwarf stars. The thing is, at the moment, we have serious solar flare activity, where we've got Nibiru and the moons, Helion, and also the brown dwarf Nemesis. Now the thing is though, the reflections are showing up on the cams all over the world right now, and I've proven this to you. And also basically we are, as I said before, there is many earthquakes that are happening right now, sinkholes, tsunami waves. The thing is though, when these tsunamis grow high, they move at 500 to 600 miles an hour. I urge you to prep, because our Sun now is at the solar maximum. These heavenly bodies will darken our Earth. Right now we've got Nemesis that's in front of our Sun, and they're using a simulator to block it, to stop us from seeing the truth, but the reflections show the darkness. Nemesis is in our system, and it's yellowing everything up on the screens and also up in the skies. Many subscribers are showing us this is a true situation. So basically, when we have this situation, the Sun will eventually, it will shed in its outer layers, and remaining core will collapse to become a white dwarf star. This will happen slowly. This will fade to enter its final phase as a dimness, and it's known as a black dwarf. Like Nemesis, it's a failed star, and it's heading our way. And also there's been information many, many years back that we're part of the system. We're part of Nibiru. As Nibiru crashed and pushed its way through into the solar system, it knocked a lot of the heavenly bodies. One of the heavenly bodies in our solar system are going the wrong way in its orbit. And also, these situations are real and they're happening right now. So basically we need to just, as I say, prepare for this. The dwarf is coming. It's a situation where everybody knows this now. The sun and its atmosphere are divided into several zones and layers. The solar interior from the inside is made up from the core. The zones and the solar atmosphere above its constant of the chromosphere. Things are completely changing. They really are. Beyond that is the solar wind, and also outflow of the gas of the corona. The core extends from the sun's center about a quarter of the way to its surface. Although it only makes up roughly 2% of the sun's volume, it is almost 15 times the density of the lead land, holds nearly half of the sun's mass. Next is the radiated zone, which extends from the core 70% of the way to the sun's surface, making up to 72% of the sun's volume and 48% of its mass. Light from the core gets scattered in this zone. The core is being affected by nemesis, and pieces of the sun is coming off. You can see this and witness this on the Soho cams. As part of the sun now, a huge part, is being agitated by nemesis and the Nibiru system. It's getting serious now. The zone reaches up to the sun's surface and makes up 66% of the sun's volume, but only a little more than 2% of its mass. They call it the rolling convection cells of gas dominate this zone. Two main kinds of solar convection cells exist. The granulation cells from the 600 miles, that's 1,000 kilometers wide, of super granulation cells, about 20,000 miles, that's 30,000 kilometers in diameter. The sun is huge. It's so big, it's much bigger than our Earth. The photosphere is the lowest layer of the sun's atmosphere and emits the light so we can see. It is about 300 miles, 500 kilometers thick. Almost of a light comes from its lower third. Temperatures in the photosphere range from chromosphere, and it ranges from 11,000 Fahrenheit to 6.25 Celsius. At the bottom is 7.46 Fahrenheit. That's 4.125 Celsius at the top. Next up is the chromosphere, which is hotter, up to 35,000 Fahrenheit, 19.725 Celsius, and is apparently made up of entirely of spiky structures known as spiculus, typically some 600 miles long, 1,000 kilometers wide, across and up to the 6,000 miles. That's 100 kilometers high. After that, in the transition region, a few hundred to a few thousand of kilometers thick, which is heated by the corona above it and sheds most of its light as ultraviolet rays. These ultraviolet rays we can't see, and they come to our Earth with these solar rays, the solar flares. And the binary twin is causing this. It's causing it so much worse now. They're spraying the skies with these chemtrails. Our Earth is being affected every day. At the top of the super hot corona, which is made generally ranges from 900,000 Fahrenheit, that's 5,000 Celsius, 100,000 Celsius. That's huge. That's so hot. It goes up to 10.8 million Fahrenheit, 6 million Celsius, and can even reach tens of millions of degrees when a solar flare occurs. That is so huge, massive. That's so dangerous. This is happening every day. Every single day. We're being attacked by these 6 million Celsius solar flares. This occurs, matter from the corona is blowing off as the solar wind pushes the solar flares forward and heading towards our planet Earth. It takes 8 minutes to attack our system, our magnetic field. The strength of the sun's magnetic field is typically only about twice as strong as the Earth's field, as strange as it can be sounding like. However, it becomes highly concentrated in small areas, which is up to 3,000 times stronger than usual. These kind of twists in the magnetic field develop because of the sun spins more rapidly at the equator than at the higher latitudes, and because the inner parts of the sun rotate more quickly when the sun on its surface. So basically, these massive coronal mass injections flares are most violent eruptions in the solar system, while coronal mass injections are less violent but involve extraordinary amounts of matter, and this matter is pouring out to us. A single injection can spout roughly 20 billion tons, 18 billion metric tons of matter towards our Earth. And we really need to prepare for this now, because Nemesis and Nibiru are causing the sun to act very strangely right now. The weather's strange. Anyway, take care, and I'll be back to you soon.